Good morning, Hope Hub. Good morning. I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. I tried to go live a couple minutes ago and I lost the network. So hopefully this time around we'll do a little bit better. Your Hope Lifeline for the day. As you can see, I'm making some eggs, so sorry if I keep glancing down. I have been up already, rising and grinding this morning. Not rising and shining, rising and grinding, because I looked out and the skies were threatening. It looked like it was gonna pour. And as you log on, say hi, say hi. It looked like it was gonna be pouring, but I persisted and not a drop of rain came up. So thankfully I was able to get my 3.5 miles, and I have been rising and grinding. I can't play no more. I have about 2 months left to train for this half marathon, and I haven't gone further than 6 miles. And of those miles, none of those miles have been miles where I actually ran the whole way. So I'm just walking and running, walking and running. Hi Daphne. Sugarless, absolutely sugarless eggs. I read your message this morning and I think I can do it. Once I get rid of this birthday cake from the house, I don't have any other excuse to take any sugar. I got rid of the wine. I got rid of anything that's, I actually don't do a whole lot of sugar. Sometimes I do end up having major cravings, but I know that at the end of the day, having sugarless anything is gonna work to my benefit. I seriously gain a whole lot of weight when I take on sugar. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But good morning, dear. Check it now. Yeah, I think we're waiting for tomorrow because that's when the trash company comes. But I'm having my eggs. I'm actually doing a lot more ketogenic type stuff. I don't know how that's gonna go. I'm trying to get rid of as much carbohydrates as I can because I need to kind of slim down a little bit more in order for me to start running better and not damage my knees. But I digress. I have what is this? A quote by BRENE BROWN up there that talks about the power of embracing your vulnerability, as well as you know, basically in a nutshell what she's saying is that all of us have life experiences, some good, some bad, but there is a benefit in exploring your life experiences, the darkness and the light, and embracing your vulnerability. You know, in order for us to find out who the best version of ourselves is. And what I was going to talk about is, interestingly enough, this morning I found a new YouTube channel that's called Behind the Brand with BRENE. I'm not sure who the full name, but he was interviewing Seth Godin, who is a very popular brand and author and businessman, entrepreneur. And he was interviewing him, and at the end of the story he tells Seth Godin about his experience in terms of exploring his background and his vulnerability. And essentially this guy Brian he was adopted, and so for many years as a teenager he was looking for his birth mom, his dad, his family, just to kind of figure out who he was. Not only just to know who he was, but you know, as you grow up also you're trying to figure out what's your history, medical or otherwise, where do you come from. And that's a struggle for many adopted children, and that's what he was looking for essentially all his life, trying to find out, you know, the extremes of his experience. And he actually talks about how usually as an adopted child your mind goes to the edges of that experience. So on one hand you think maybe my mom was a wealthy heiress or something, and she needed she was hiding the pregnancy because of her wealthy family, or maybe my father was Steve Jobs, and so there's a trust or inheritance waiting somewhere. And then at the same time, the other extreme is where you think maybe I'm the product of a violent crime, a rape, and so that's why my mom, you know, got rid of me because she couldn't stand looking at me on a daily basis, or maybe my mom was a crackhead, or whatever the case may be. So you have those two extremes, and not knowing the darkness or the light of your experience can haunt you all your life. You know, because every day you're waking up thinking about, was I a problem? Was I unwanted? Or whatever the case may be. So he talks about that story and how he eventually, you know, when he was younger, he would go looking for, go to state offices and try and get those records. But they wouldn't disclose because basically those records had been, what is the word? Basically, they were confidential, right? So he couldn't get the records, and no matter what he tried, they wouldn't give it to him. But then later on in the age of the internet, I guess it's easier to find investigators and kind of get access to those records. And so he finally found his parents, or at least his mom, and he wrote a letter. He didn't go looking for her and just show up. He actually wrote a letter. And when he wrote this letter, he was very generous because he said, look, here, he wrote a letter and put in a picture of his beautiful family, because now it's like 30 years later down the line, he's successful, he's doing well. And he sends the letter with his family picture, him and his wife and his 3 kids. And he says, look, I just wanted to say thank you for whatever reason you gave me up for adoption. I just want to thank you because maybe I ended up okay. I ended up with a great family, a great life experience. I just want to appreciate what you did for whatever reason. And of course, I'm available if you ever want to meet me or, you know, have a phone call or whatever and just find out who I am. And then, you know, a month or so later, he gets this letter in the mail, and it's very official. And so he's like, ooh, my mom must be rich or, you know, really official from a wealthy family because of how it came in really great paper and lined and whatever. And then he opens up the letter, and it's actually from a law firm. And the law firm is like, our client so-and-so accepts or agrees, or whatever the word is, affirm or validates that she is actually your birth mom, but she doesn't want anything to do with you. And so unfortunately, we're writing this to tell you to cease and desist from continuing to try and seek contact with her because she doesn't want anything to do with you. And so that was like a crushing blow to him, right? And he was like, oh my God, all my life I wanted to meet this woman, and it completely devastated him. And so at the same time, I guess this was around 2008, 2007, Brian also is going through a really hard time financially. And of course, you know, the crisis and everything. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he ends up trying to start Behind the Brand, which is this company or show where he interviews entrepreneurs and people like Seth Godin. And so he says the first time he met Seth, he spoke to Seth, and it was during this time, and Seth had no idea what was going on in his life. And so he was saying, look, I'm trying to start this brand, this show, I'm having a very hard time financially, and blah blah blah. And he's going into this whole story, and Seth Godin tells him, look, Bri, I understand what you're going through. I understand how in your, you know, your story with your birth parents and them not wanting to meet you may make you feel like you're a victim in your life, and that essentially everything is corroborating to destroy you, or your life has been a victim story. But I'm gonna have to tell you this: no one is coming to rescue you. And that's my message to you guys this morning. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest story. Oh my God, hopefully it doesn't go off because of the microwave. That no one is coming to rescue you. And unfortunately, that's a hard message to take for all of us, in terms of many of us have this idea, and especially for him because he was adopted, where he kept thinking Prince Charming is coming. And so Seth Godin tells him, listen, Prince Charming is not coming. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is sending a jet. No one is sending a boat to rescue you. All of us go through life, and life experiences, hard or easy or joyful or whatever. That's just life. But at some point, you have to start taking responsibility for your own life. You have to accept that this is what your past was, and stop living in the past and stop living as a victim, essentially, and understand that where your focus needs to be is the future and creating the future that you want instead of bemoaning the past that you had. And so he just told him, you have to keep pressing forward. You have to keep living life expecting good things to happen, creating good things, etc., and not really looking back at the sadness and the problems of your past, because that's the story. Actually, it's biological. Like every day you wake up, if your thoughts are negative and your thoughts are thinking about, you know, what happened to you in your past and the problems, essentially, that's your programming. Unfortunately, like you become a program, and then for years and years and years you're in this routine of negativity and thoughts that are not positive, and so that continues to manifest in your life. So essentially that was my message to you guys today. And of course there's that BRENE BROWN quote up there that talks about embracing your experiences, embracing your vulnerabilities, being you, because that's all you know how to be, but also being the best version of yourself, right? So anyway, that was the my hope lifeline for you guys today. Oh, and then the last message, the story ends really well in terms of Bri, in that even though his mom did not want to meet him or did not want to see him, he ends up later on still looking for his father, and his father was more receptive to him, to meeting them. And so he ended up meeting his father and finding out that his father had remarried and had children, and so he has sisters, and they're a big Jewish family, and so it ended up on a good note. Mazel tov. So anyway, just to say that you guys are responsible. We're all responsible for creating our own lives. We're all responsible for, like what I'm doing, rising and grinding this morning. I know I have a half marathon coming up, but guess what? I have to do the work. And guess what? Hard work works, because I've experienced it. When I was ready to run my marathon, I got up every single day and I went out and I ran and I trained. I ate right, my nutrition was on point, and at the end of the day I was able to cross that finish line. So at the same with you guys as well, you're the creators of your, or co-creators of your own life with God. Don't focus so much on the negativity and your life experiences in the past. Choose to focus on the future and creating the best version of yourself. Daphne, girl, congratulations! Daphne is amazeball. She is ripped. She is the best version of herself, or my I want to be you when I grow up, Daphne. You are my inspiration and my motivation and my body goals. And I remember 3 years ago when you had it on your vision board, that amazing, slick, lean body, and you did it. Actually, you went above and beyond what was on your vision board. And so I just love you and I appreciate you, and thank you for motivating me. And yes, sugarless is what we're going through, and I'm gonna try and purge all this sugar and throw away this cake as soon as possible. I know you don't play, and hopefully I'll see you on the 19th. A lot of stuff is going on. I saw your message, but I'm gonna try and see you on the 19th. I love you, girl. You and Stacy. Love you. Have an amazing Tuesday. Peace.